Muy buenos días a todos. Bienvenido a nuestro 16º Congreso de Control, Electrónica y Telecomunicaciones. Quiero primero agradecer su asistencia a este gran evento, en esta conferencia magistral, donde pues tenemos la oportunidad de presentar al señor Roland Wagner, quien es CEO de Codesis, CODESYS en inglés. El doctor Wagner tiene estudios en ingeniería física, 5 años de experiencia en empresas de automatización como desarrollador. Él es el encargado de aumentar la responsabilidad de marketing y ventas de las empresas. Es marketing manager desde 2000 en Codesis y jefe de product marketing desde 2013. Actualmente es CEO de Codesis. El doctor Wagner tuvo la gentileza de acompañarnos hoy en este evento tan importante para nosotros. Quiero pues agradecerle su asistencia. Va a estar con nosotros durante la próxima join us today. So you are very welcome and please enjoy the conference.
Thank you very much. Buenos días desde Alemania. Lamentablemente no hablo español, así que le hablaré en inglés. ¿De acuerdo?
Okay.
So I just read that from translator program, so I'm sorry that I'm not able to speak Spanish. However, welcome from Germany. Here in Germany, it's already late afternoon, almost evening. I'm here in the CODESYS headquarters. In the back, you see a mosaic of our two founders of CODESYS and the company and the whole system. Yes, and I'm happy that I'm with you. And I'm not alone. Of course, I'm alone somehow, but I have some equipment with me. And therefore, in order to show you, I will switch the camera perspective. So I have something prepared so I can really have a live demonstration for you further on. But let's at first step start with the presentation I've prepared. So I need to share my screen. And hopefully you should be able to hear some music right now.
We are not hearing the music.
Perfect. Yeah, this is a song from my favorite band, from the Beatles, with a little help from my friends. However, we skip friends and we go to cloud. This is the title of my presentation. The idea is how can the cloud, how can Industry 4.0 can help you with software engineering, can help you with automation engineering. This is my topic, and I hope this will be interesting for you and the audience. At first step, I want to give an introduction. What does the term cloud make you think of? There are different possibilities. Perhaps you think of music and video platforms. So Netflix, Spotify, all these platforms are very often used, and many people think on such platforms. But maybe you think that you have uploaded your latest holiday photos to your family albums. So by the way, this is an album that I have recently made where we had a family holiday. So we have uploaded some photos somewhere in Italy. Maybe this is your first idea. But as engineers, as universal stuff, you think, of course, on machine learning, perhaps on artificial intelligence. But maybe you just think of bad weather. Yeah, this is as well cloud. We know that public cloud system provides us a lot of stuff. For example, infinite storage capacity. Of course, it's not infinite, but if we see here, and this is a price list of Amazon Web Services, that the amount of memory you can book is far away to believe, then we can already talk about infinite. So you see here, over 500 terabytes you can charge, but you can have thousands of terabytes in case you want to. So clouds provide storage capacity, as well as computing capacities. You can just book CPU performance as much as you like. But as well, countless services that we can benefit from. As well here, a screenshot from Amazon Web Services. You see up here, there are many, many different categories, and in every category, there are different services offered. However, how does all that help us for software engineering and automation? I have 4 different categories I want to talk about. The first one I have named application repository. What this term means, this is something I will explain in the next few minutes. But let's come back at first step. What is the difference between family photos and automation projects? First step, the target group. Yeah, of course, here we have the family, which is the target for watching the videos, watching the photos. On the other hand, there are the industrial engineers, industrial staff who want to access to automation projects. And if they're available in the cloud, then we have almost the same situation. The file format. Of course, with the family photos, we have something like JPEGs, PNGs, perhaps MP4 videos or movies, raw pictures. In automation industry, we have totally different formats. Well, maybe project files, compressed project files, device descriptions, things like that. Next difference, the viewing and editing tool. Yeah, if we want to watch the videos or the photos, then we need something like Windows Photo Gallery or IR Fan View or some other tools that enable us to watch the videos or the photos. For these automation projects, we need, of course, special tools for that. For example, COTUS. And the next difference is the target system where all these files are executed. So ideally, all these platforms are directly connected with the target system. So in case I go to a cloud and double click on a photo, then the photo is downloaded and opened with my favorite photo gallery viewer. And the same thing should be with automation projects. Now, is that possible? Yes, it is. Therefore, I'm here and I want to show you the COTUS automation server. Before I want to go into a live demonstration, I want to give you some brief first introduction about what the COTUS automation server is. As you see here on the picture, there are different, let's say, machines, different installations, which are all connected to a cloud. Yeah? No matter if it's that windmill or that robot or that manufacturing hall, there are a lot of controllers inside and they're all connected to the cloud. And in this cloud, there are now digital twins, information about the physical information running on the target controller. And the big issue is that now somebody with a web browser, and this is running here on a tablet, can easily access to this digital twin and do some administration stuff. This is the basic idea. You have a direct connection from the controller to the cloud, and somebody with a web browser can register to a special cloud account, as we call it, cloud tenant, and can then do something with that information. And the first thing you will be able to do is to access to the automation projects in a kind of application repository, in a kind of database for these application projects. So, and this is something I want to show in live mode, and therefore I switch to my HTML browser. In this case, it's Mozilla Firefox, and you see that I'm here in the COTUS automation server, and I need to log in at first step to the right URL, so the right tenant, and then I can log in with my login credentials. And of course, there can be several login credentials for different users in different roles, so that we have a very fine separation of the possibilities and rights, what somebody can do. Of course, in this case, I have all the rights. I'm the administrator, so I can show you almost everything. The first step, we take a short list. We go to the PLCs and take a short look at the so-called topology view. This is a graphical view of the possibilities that I can prepare for my application. And you see in this case, it's somehow a picture of the cube here with a lot of different hardware devices. And if I click on that one here, on that plus I get a list of all the PLCs which are in front of this front page. No? So I can go, for example, to this device here and get some first initial information. See which runtime system is executed there, which firmware version, which application is running. This is this one here, and so on. So a lot of informative information, informative stuff that I can use for my engineering. Now, but we said we are talking about the files, about the photos, talking about the family album, or the automation projects, talking about industry. How can I check them? You see here there is a category applications, and if I click on that, and I have applications which I have uploaded to my server. So let's take the first one here, because this is the one I have worked with, and I have prepared it, of course, for this live demonstration. You can see that there is an application name in here, and there are as well different versions of this application. So I could check a special version, but let's just take this one here. And what can I do with it? There are different possibilities. Perhaps we just click on it to see some of these possibilities. For example, I get the first idea when this version of that project was recently uploaded. So you see here that it was done by me yesterday. But if I choose another one, then you see that there are maybe older versions as well available here. This is already more than a year old. Now let's switch back to the latest version. Then I can go to a second register deployment, and I can see whether this application is already running somewhere in my installation here. Yeah, and I see, okay, this is running here on that Raspberry Touch PMAR, and this is exactly this device in here. And then there may be some parameters which I could use in order to check what is possible. Let's go back to the list before. Oops. If I click around with the mouse, then it's just because the zoom window is annoying me sometimes, so I have to move it backward and forward. There's another thing I can do. I can go to this button here. Of course, there are some other possibilities. For example, I could give some permission rights or even delete the project. I won't do that right now. But this button here is the interesting one. I can open this project now with CodeSys. Of course, not in the cloud so far, but on my local computer. So if I do so, the project is downloaded. My local installation of CodeSys on my computer here is started. And this project will be downloaded and can then be accessed and edited directly in here. In order to do so, I need to enter my login credential once again, because it's not clear that I have the access at this stage. Click OK. And then I see the whole list of different applications once again, of different versions once again. As I said, I take the latest one here. I open that. Of course, I had it already opened before, therefore this message came along, but nevertheless, we want to really work from the scratch. I don't want to override things. Maybe we override everything, which we already have. So just to take the original version directly from the cloud platform. By the way, the cloud platform is not hosted here. It's hosted on a distributed server. We are working in this case with Amazon Web Services. The cloud server is at that position here located in Frankfurt, about 400 kilometers from here. So therefore, this download speed is of course limited due to the internet speed I have here on my computer and the overall limits of my connection. And you see down here that there are some information displayed of this download. This is of course much slower than compared to the opening of a project directly from my file system. So let's still wait a little bit. As I have 1 hour for the presentation, I think it's worth to wait that in order to really show you the way somebody would work in a real installation. So almost finished. We already see the project structure here. It's a very simple project. So in case you have larger project, this would of course take longer. However, you have the access to it. And I say that I want to work exactly with this version. This is something new in CodeSys, that in case there were some packages missing, you could install them, but I don't need them. So maybe we close all these editors just to concentrate on the project. As I said, it's just a very simple project. However, there's a visualization inside, and this explains the download times, because all the visualizations need, of course, to be downloaded too. I have here a generator of a graph, and this is exactly what you see in here, that display, perhaps a little bit small. Perhaps, yeah, I will be later showing you how this works in general. And there's one variable here, x enabled. We can show it in here in the visualization. So there's that graph, that generator output displayed in here. And there's one variable, x enable, and this one could switch off that generator. And we want to use it right now in the visualization and exactly on that panel here. So therefore, I go to my visualization and add rotary switch. Let's put it here, and let's connect it to this variable I just showed. So it's this x enable out of the PU sign. Okay, perhaps I save my project, and then I can now synchronize this project back to the cloud. So as if I had uploaded my photos back to my family photo album. So I'll give a commit message, for example, switcher edit. And again, now that takes some time. The first step, the application is compiled, and then both the application source code and the native code, so the compiled code for the target device, which is set in here in that device description, are uploaded to the cloud system. And we see here that there are some uploading messages, and as soon as everything has been uploaded, we can go back to the automation server in the cloud system and check whether the upload was successfully made. Let's see. So uploading the files. Okay. It seems that we are ready now. Let's go back and perhaps we refresh the view of it. Here we are. You see that there is a new blue box showing us that there's an update available, and it's exactly that update switcher enabled that we have just uploaded. And I will go back to that detailed view of the application, that we see that it's exactly the time I've uploaded it. So you see that here in Germany, it's 3:20 p.m., so not the morning like in your location. Okay. So we can see that we can work with automation projects as we did with our family photos. I have all the possibilities. I have a connection to my IDE, to my integrated development environment. Of course, I could have changed as well the PLC code. I did not do that because it's easier to view something. Now, the next step would be, of course, to bring this changed application to the target device. How can we do that? As we already said, we go to the deployment and we select that device here. And by the way, we could have selected several of them, as these are all, let's say, similar hardware devices. They're all Raspberry Pis, because it's a very, let's say, common and cheap platform. Therefore, we are using it very, very often for tests or for demonstrations like that. And I could now select further of these devices to get the same application. I won't do that right now, but just to show you, it's just a few clicks. And then I can say apply changes. Then I have to confirm this one. And you will immediately see that now the visualization has disappeared, because there was a message sent to the controller via that cloud server in Frankfurt that this application is now stopped, and there's a new application downloaded in here. Again, this one will take some seconds, a minute perhaps, and then we should have the updated application running here. We will immediately see it by the rotary switcher then that we have added into the visualization. Okay, here we are. We already see that the sign here was appearing, that the download was progressing, and here we are. We can see that everything is working. Now we can see here that there is that graph drawn, and if I switch here, then there is no more output of that code generator of that triangle. So, and switch it on again to show that this is really live working. Yeah, to be honest, it's not good to see, but in a minute I will show you a better view of it. But before I do so, I go back to the presentation. So we have seen that there is an application repository of which I can immediately benefit from that cloud platform where the devices are connected to. Now there's another point I will show you in a live mode. Remote debugging. What does that mean? If I have a remote access to an automation device, I have now different possibilities. I can, for example, use the remote access for supervision. And this is exactly what I said. I can now see that visualization, which is running in a completely different network than my computer, directly on my computer here. So I go back to my automation server, to the device, to this one here, and there's a small button called Web Visualizations. There's one web visualization available. If I click on it, there's a special browser view opened, and now I receive the same visualization which is running in here. So now just to prove, I can now switch it here, for example, from a triangle mode to a rectangle mode. And we immediately see that this triangle turned to a rectangle view. We see that in both systems. And I can as well use the switcher in here. You see that it's switching and it stopped to toggle the state of that output of the generator. And there's even a better possibility, or even another possibility. I can do the same thing as well, not only on my computer here, but as well on a tablet computer, which I have already prepared, of course. So you can see that. Perhaps I come a little bit closer to the camera. So let's do the same thing. Unfortunately, I lost my login credentials. No problem. Takes me a second to log in again. So, okay, so I'm logged in. So go to the topology view, take the list view of the PLCs on the front side here, take that device here, go to the web visualization and check and receive the same visualization as we have it running now on the computer or on the target device here with the new switcher added. So here we are. And if I switch on the switcher, then we have again this switching and changing of the states of that generator output. Oops. So this is already a very, very powerful possibility to check and to, let's say, debug somehow the application. You can provide special pages on your controller, which are, for example, for diagnostic information. And in case I do not want to prepare a special visualization for that, there's another way to get diagnostic information by using parameters. For that purpose, I take in this case another device here. I hope that you can see that, but I'm not absolutely sure. Perhaps I have to change the camera position a little bit. Yeah, you can see that. It's that device here. Yeah, and this has a connected motor. And this has a parameter which is called motor speeds. So for example, I want to know, does the motor work at all? Because the application has not switched it on. I can now publish this variable motor speed in order to manually check whether the motor is really turning in case I want to have it turning. So I give here another value. Instead of 0, I give the 2. And I hope you see that. Now the motor is turning and the thing is running here. And just to show the opposite, I stop it again with the value 0, and then it stopped. So these features already offer me a really good access to the application. And now the idea is, I'm not in the same network here. I'm working in different networks. So if I was now somewhere in my holiday, I could do the same check just with an internet connection of my tablet computer to the cloud, and from the cloud to the controller in here. I can check these values. As I said, of course, the limiting factor here is the internet speed. However, it works and it can be really done. I have done it here as well already with my smartphone. Of course, the display is not that huge. However, it works in the same way. Now, another thing is debugging. Debugging means taking the IDE and taking a look to the application running on site. We can do that, and I take now the COTIS development system once again. Now there's usually this view that you have. You have a local so-called gateway, which is the intermediate software between your IDE, here running on your computer, and the controllers you want to program or you want to debug. So this gateway is the intermediate software which handles the communication. But you've seen that there's now another gateway added. Where does this come from? It's very simple. It comes from the COTIS automation server. If we go back, we can here have these gateways, and I can now register a gateway to that server. This is done by a special service in here. Edge gateway. I can connect an edge gateway to that server, and this is what I've already done before. So this gateway is available, and this gateway, as soon as I'm connected with my IDE to that cloud platform, to that account, is now available here locally too. So I can now go to scan network and scan all these devices which are here on my demonstrator. So I can, for example, choose that one here, establish a connection, of course, with all the login credentials that are required since the latest version of COTIS due to security reasons. And I can now immediately log in. So I can now access to the application which is already running. In normal cases, when we didn't have the connection as before, we needed, of course, to download the application at first step. In this case, I just generated this new project from that installation of COTIS. So I can immediately log in and see all the variables in live mode running on that controller. So if I switch that again, we see here that the variable has changed from true to false, just to show the other way around. Yeah, and I can, of course, do that manually in here too. So do real debugging. And again, if I'm sitting here in Kempten and I have an internet access to the cloud server, and you have on your side entered some of your controllers on a tenant which I have access to, then I can access to them from Germany to Colombia. No problem. And this is, of course, a real big benefit of the cloud platform. Now, how was this done in the past? COTIS has already the possibility to build up remote connections. Yeah? Instead of entering here and scanning here for a network, or entering here a local gateway that I knew, I could as well enter an IP address for a gateway, a remote gateway. This is already possible, or just enter here an IP address. However, there's a big problem doing so. There might be some nice animals in between, not animals, but somebody in the middle could hack that communication and do some things that I do not want him to do. So man of the middle attack is the security term for that, the threat for that. So therefore, this is no good idea anymore. 10 years ago, we didn't care about that, but today life has changed, world has changed. So how was this done so far with security in mind? So no direct connection anymore, but using some software in between, some VPN tunnels, some firewalls, And of course, this makes all the work very complicated. How can a cloud help me to have this direct access? We have seen that it works. Is that secure? Yes. If there's a secure communication established, then it is secure. And this is exactly what we do here. And how does this look like? It looks like this. I'm here on my computer, and I have a encrypted communication to the cloud platform. So there is no possibility to hack this communication because it's end-to-end encrypted. No way. And from the cloud to my local controller network, there's as well an end-to-end encryption. And there's another security, let's say, gate. There's here this edge gateway, which is in front of it. This can run, of course, on the same device as a controller, but typically it's running on an abstracted device, which abstracts my controller network from the internet, so that nobody can directly access to a controller, only through that gateway. And this gateway has the end-to-end encryption again, so there is no possibility to really enter that. This is a secured platform which we have, which we realized by means of TLS encryption with X509 certificates, which are the same certificates that we use for online banking, for example. And in order to be sure that this is really no static check that we do, we have regular audits in order to see if case there are things changed or new threats. So this communication is regularly audited, and we have just recently received the past signal, so everything is okay and it's really secure. You can rely on it. So again, I want to show you that live now. I have already done that. You see that I could just log in and I have the communication, all the possibilities as I sat directly next to the controller. In this case, I do so, but the communication is handled via the cloud. And I could do the same thing from at home, from somewhere on a business trip, in a hotel or on a holiday. Could check in case there's something not working properly, whether there's something to do, and then I could work here or work here. Quite handy. Good. Now I leave my live part, taking a look on my watch in order not to speak too long. There are now two more points where I cannot show you something in a live mode because these are not yet implemented, but it's a little bit an outlook what will be possible in the future. For example, in the cloud, there may be add-on tools to improve quality. Before I start, one question: how do you use tools today, or which tools do you use? For example, do you already work with source code management using, for example, Subversion or Git? Or do you use add-on tool for static code analysis, for checking the code, whether there are several rules obeyed or not? Or do you check the runtime on the controller? You can already do that today. There are available add-on tools for the development interface, so for the CodeSys installation, which I have, of course, installed. Perhaps I show you something. For example, let's go static analysis. We can go to settings and see the rules. And you see there's a whole and huge list of rules that I could check. And if I do so, I won't do that right now because it's not the topic of the presentation today. If I run the static analysis, this would take, depending on the project, some seconds or some minutes until the check results are displayed. So this is done at the moment locally on my computer. But why not use these tools in the cloud? Well, for example, source code management via Subversion Git in a cloud platform. We have seen that with the application repository. Remember that one here. We have, of course, a kind of let's say, version control management, but on the complete project level, not on the object level inside a project. We cannot change different objects inside. But this is possible, and this will be in the future possible with Git. You can, of course, do that right now with a Git client somewhere in a remote installation or even in a GitHub. Static code analysis. Yeah, you could then, for example, use a project directly from the cloud repository. So directly from here. In the future, there might be some buttons to run static analysis or check the rules for the static analysis, which means that there is no computing capacity of your local computer used, but only of the cloud platform. And as we said before, in case you have huge projects, you can access to infinite CPU performance in order to speed that process up. The big benefit is that you need no rent, no installation, no maintenance of the tool. Of course, there will be a pay-per-use business model for it. So if you say, I only use that twice a year, then you only have to pay twice a year for it. The same thing is concerning the storage computing capacity. Yeah, so we don't need the capacity on our own workstations. We reduce the effort for installation, maintenance. And the big issue is that everybody who has access to that cloud account, to that tenant, can immediately access to these add-on tools. So there is no installation on different computers of the local workers necessary. So this is something that we're working on, and I have no, let's say, no time schedule so far for it, but in the future we will offer these services as well in the cloud. And last but not least, we could as well talk about development environment in the cloud. Why should we use that in the cloud? And I don't know how you use Microsoft Office. So far, I personally am using a local installation on my computer, but it's probably next year that we will switch from the local installations to the cloud installations, MS Office 365, where the application is running in the cloud, and I just need to up and download my files, which doesn't take that long usually. So it's the same way for the development environment. So this is something that will be available soon. Of course, we know that some of the competitors in the market already work in that direction, but of course not with that amount of features that Codesys offers. And the idea is that you can then work on a computer as you do it right now with a local installation, but as well in a browser. And instead of using a PC, you could as well use a tablet computer or even a smartphone for small and simple changes. But of course, only if you want to do so. This is an internal picture somehow. And yeah, I want to tell you a little bit how our vision is. How do we want to switch from a well-established and full functional development system running on a desktop version to a cloud version? There's, of course, a kind of roadmap necessary. So today, the only thing is Codesys desktop version with full functionality with classical technologies. But in the future, we want to have a branch off with reduced but growing functionality, so that in the future there will be two different possibilities. One possibility running in an app, and the other one running in the cloud in an HTML browser. So the browser can be used for the operation. What are the steps in between? Yeah, we need intermediate versions. And the idea is that each of them can be used in real life for a specific group of users. Of course, when we are here, this will not compete to the functionality we have right now on the standard Codesys desktop version. But for a simple, let's say, adding of visualizations or switching of, let's say, switches inside a ladder diagram, this could already be usable in some, let's say, a year or so. The idea is that both the concept and the formats remain compatible, so that users can change from these three implementations of the Codesys development system at any time. And this is a little bit our roadmap, yeah. From the desktop version, we want to reduce the main parts step by step, So what we have done with the latest service pack is already to modularize all the functional modules of the CodeSys development system with the goal to move step by step, one after the other, into the cloud platform. But not directly, but on a common code base, so that these things can be used on desktop and on the cloud-based running system. So what will be the benefits? For sure, that there is a platform independence in software engineering for automation projects. So you can use of new device classes, smartphones, tablet computers, I don't know, any panels where you have a browser running on, which gives you, of course, more flexibility. There will be no need for installation, maintenance, and updates. You just work with the development system. All versions will be available at any time. So if you say, oh, this project was made with an older version, just take the older version. It's installed on the cloud platform. Remember, infinite storage capacity, so no problem. Different users work with the same identical versions. Yeah? So nobody will say, oh, have you installed that library? Did you miss that package? Otherwise, you will not run. Everything will be installed on that cloud platform. You can just work with it. And you can just use these functional extensions when required. Furthermore, we have the idea to offer regular, high-quality early adopter versions. So if you say, hey, I'm really keen on knowing what the guys in Germany are doing there in the latest or in the newest release, which will be in a few months, then you can start with an early adopter version, just see how this works, perhaps give us some feedback in case you find, oh, there's something still buggy. Then this is, of course, some feedback and some positive aspect for us. But in any case, it will be risk-free testing at a really early stage. And as we said, infinitive computing performance, the compiler runs, especially for large projects, will be very, very fast, depending on the CPUs that are booked by you. So our goal is to create an ideally adapted working environment for every user. You will be free to work where and the way you want to do that. No matter if it's on the classical PC or on a tablet computer or whatever you want to use as your computing device, your engineering device. Okay, so coming to the last few slides, conclusion. Cloud services have become part of our lives. We've seen that, family photos and so on, but as well in other things like engineering of automation tasks, because they simplify our life in many ways already today. And there will be much more in the future. And if you want to do so, check it out. The automation server is free of charge. So you can, everybody of you can register for his own tenant, for his own account. Up to 2 controllers are free of charge. And I know, of course, that you as a university already work with special tenants. So this is our offer for you to work with that and make the experiences yourself. Thank you very much for the attention.
Wagner, thank you very much for this explanation and live demonstration of the CodeSys automation server. And it really works very nicely. It's a very good platform for Industry 4.0. And now we have some questions. Let me check for some. Okay, en este momento tenemos un espacio para preguntas, por favor, si las pueden hacer acá. Bueno, yo voy a hacer algunas aquí primero, pero tenemos el espacio aquí del chat para preguntar. Okay, so
now we need the online translator.
Okay, no problem. Yes, I'm saying that we have a space for some questions. They have the chat, so they can ask using the chat, and I translate for you. But first, I have some questions myself. The first regarding labs on internet. We are in a university, so I see we can use these cloud services to set up a lab, and maybe we can use it from our country to another country. In another country, Germany, for example, you can have the lab, and we can use your software to access some equipment and maybe set up, configure some controllers. I don't know. I'd like to know if you already have or are working with some universities using these labs, using the cloud services that you offer.
To be honest, there was some audio disturbing. I hope that I understood the question correctly. The question is whether there are some possibilities to help to establish such connections.
Yes, I mean, with the university or with some universities, we can be interested on work on labs using the cloud services that you offer. I see it's very easy to connect and maybe use your software to work with a lab in other country. Mm-hmm. So I'd like to know if maybe you have some universities, or maybe you are working with some universities.
Oh, yes, yes, of course, yes. So you have my email address, just send me an email. We have a special offer for universities. You can get free accounts with full functionality for free.
Ah, for free. That's great. And
the same thing is valid as well for soft PLC licenses in case you need them. For special lab equipment, we can offer free licenses for university and for teaching purposes. So just contact me.
Thank you. And at this moment, are you working with some universities around the world?
Yes, yes. I cannot count them, to be honest. There are some hundreds of universities we're working with.
Okay, very nice. Thank you. Okay, the other question is regarding our countries. In Latin America, in particular in Colombia, can we take advantage of the cloud for automation applications? I mean, are we prepared for this step? The infrastructure of our networks can work with this kind of technology?
I didn't get the question, to be honest.
Sorry, yes.
As I said, there's sometimes a little bit, it's not very clear, but just repeat it again. Perhaps I understand.
Okay, no problem. I can do it again. Yes, and I mean, for our countries, the infrastructure of our networks can work with your technology, can work with the cloud services. I mean, we have the speed, we have the infrastructure of our networks, work with the cloud services. You think we could use this kind of services even with our infrastructure? Or
yes, yes.
Maybe.
Yes. So as I said, what you need to do is to have somewhere the edge gateway as a local access point in your local network and connect that access point to the cloud tenant. So at first step, you need, of course, to register for a cloud tenant. There's a special service, perhaps I can show that. So in doing so, I go to the screen sharing once again. Just a second. So there's the code to store. And here we have, so this is the German page. Let's go to the English one. We have here automation server. And what you need is just to go to automation server and to register for a cloud access. For that purpose, you need, of course, to have an account. But then you can register for an account here. And as soon as you've done that, you have your personal account with your personal URL in the server. And then what you need to do is to connect the edge gateway, as I already started to show very quickly, to the cloud. Yeah, you enter your special URL in here. Then you need to take to allow the edge gateway configuration. It's a security possibility, of course, that not everybody could access to your edge gateway. And in case you do so, like we can check the gateway information. For example, I take this one here again. Then I give that a name. Okay, it's taking the wrong one, but I could then give a name and that just connect it to the cloud service and have it available in my list of edge gateways in here. So you could immediately take that version. Yeah, I could just upload that in here. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So I hope this answers the questions.
Okay, the last one, Mr. Wagner, could you please give us some examples of applications around the world of the uses of cloud services? Some companies maybe, something that is working actually right now?
For example, we have a customer called Car Wash. Guess what they're doing? They're producing car washing machines over Switzerland, Germany, and Austria. All these machines are equipped with a controller. And of course, the application is almost the same on every side. Now, of course, this company further develops this car wash application in order to optimize the washing process, the use of power, use of water, and the consumption of all these things. Now, guess they have 30, 40 installations, which they have in Switzerland, Germany, and Austria. And now they want to update them. Before that, they would take a computer and drive to each location and connect and then install the new version. Today, they all collect these different controllers in such a tenant, in such an account. And then they go to the application, upload the latest version, click. Again, I want just again to show what I want to say about that. Yeah, go again to the application, go to deployment, and click to all these controllers and all these locations where they're connected. Click on all them, apply changes, and this is now rolled out to every location. And within minutes, they have all the latest versions. So this is one company called Car Wash. Then there's another company I have visited last year called Fliegel. This is a German supplier of agricultural machines. For example, they have machines which condense, this is now, which condense the output of animals. Yeah. When I talk about output, then I think of milk, but as well the other stuff, which is, let's say, a pollution stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if the cows shit or if the chickens shit, then they need to do something with that. And there's a lot of water inside because all this stuff is cleaned with water. So they have a whole lake of very smelly stuff. Yeah. Of course, you can just bring it on the fields, which is the new dung for growing the plants. But there's a lot of water inside, which is not necessary. So they have machines to condense and to bring out that water out of that lake. And these machines are now located somewhere in Germany, in Austria, in Switzerland, in Europe. And of course, same situation. They want to roll out the application. And in the past, they had some, let's say, tool in order to have a remote VPN tunnel and then download. This was very unhandy. I'm in a good contact with one of the guys, and he wrote me an email when they first started to work with the Codes automation server. And he wrote almost in the same wording, of course in German, but almost in the same wording. I have now rolled out the application on 4 different devices in 2 minutes. This is genius. Now I can show you the email. He was really very happy about that. And it takes a lot of effort. Yeah? And again, this thing to have the overview, which controller has which application version on it, which firmware version, which gives me all an information. Oh, maybe it should be time to update the firmware version. There's an old version on it, which may cause security problems or other problems. So these are really handy information, which help them to get the whole system more reliable and faster equipped. And they're very happy about that.
Okay, Mr. Wagner, very nice application. So again, thank you so much for being here with us in our conference. I will contact you later. Maybe we can talk about the application of the cloud services in our university.
I wish you a very successful conference for the rest of the day. I will have to leave because here it's already evening and my family is waiting for me at home. However, have a nice and successful conference. It was a pleasure for me to join you. Perhaps next time I will be physically there. I don't know what the future will bring, but in any case,
Of course, you're very welcome in our country. After the pandemic, you're very welcome.
Roland, I also want to connect at some point and talk some more shit with you. I thought it was fascinating. So yeah, good stuff.
Thank you. Now you can switch back to Spanish and then we will be out. Okay. Bye-bye.
Nice.
See
Thank
you.
Bye-bye. See you. Hi, Nicolas.
Hola.
Recording stopped.